Ah, Viper. The Valorant's very own deceptive and mysterious scientist. Who knew her character translates so well to how much she can cause confusion in the battlefield? And while her kit has gone through many changes throughout the years, just one thing remains constant. If you need a go-to controller for an overly sized map with tricky pathing, you'd best expect her to be ready with punishing walls and unforgiving lineups. Whether it's to slice up areas for map control or make enemies second-guess your location, Viper definitely knows how to get the job done. But today, we ask the age-old question of, will Viper work on Abyss? Spoiler alert, the answer is yes. Today, I am going to show you how to conquer the Abyss with these insane Viper setups. You'll never have to dread this map again, as you can be the insta-lock controller of your team whenever Abyss pops up. Oh, and a word of warning here. Please watch your step. For our first attacking setup on A, simply align yourself towards this wall on A main. Pull out your toxic screen and check your minimap to ensure that your wall aligns with A tower all the way to A link. Now, for our smoke orb lineup, head over to the corner of this platform. Make sure to get a teammate to cover you from sight since you're going to be an open target here. Or better yet, just try to clear some angles with your team first before proceeding with the lineup. Once the coast is clear, stand on the corner of the platform and aim towards this yellow part right here. If you look closely here, you're going to notice there's a darker shade of rectangle. Aim your crosshair towards the middle of that rectangle. Then, pull out your smoke orb and do a jumping throw. This lineup is going to cover the entirety of the choke point on CT. Now, as for the wall, you're going to be protected from any peekers coming from A tower. Our second setup for attacking A has two variations for the smoke orb lineup. One can be used for a basic post-plant side hold, while the other is useful for a post-plant molly lineup. So to get started, wait for the barriers to drop, then head to this corner on mid. Align your wall towards the choke points of A tower and CT, as seen from your minimap. And for the first orb lineup, you're going to need to head over to this corner so it can land directly behind A bridge. Look for the tip of this tree and do a jumping throw in that direction. Once you activate your wall and orb, you can see how it completely covers A tower as well as the majority of backside. This can work perfectly if you're doing a quick push that allows you to isolate close fights. After planting, you'll also be able to immediately reposition for a post-plant hold. For our alternative orb lineup, stand on the corner of this box and aim towards the tip of this pointy rock. Then pull out your smoke orb and do a jumping throw. This orb will land directly on top of A bridge. It also still provides coverage from backside while allowing a post-plant molly lineup opportunity if you plant on A bridge. Once you get to site, you can plant the spike right here or have a teammate do it for you before heading back to A main. To do the A bridge lineup, look for the middle line of this box and align yourself towards it. Next, aim your crosshair towards the tip of the shadowy patch on this mountain right here. Pull out your snakebite and do a normal throw. This molly lineup will cover the entire section of bridge, denying spike diffuse for a good amount of time. Just do be wary of any flanks or have a buddy to help you out so you can focus on your molly lineup. Defending A site is pretty straightforward since there's only one main entry point that can easily be controlled. Now, our first setup actually only needs your Viper wall, so you can save your smoke orb for retake. Simply stand right next to this wall near A main and aim your toxic screen as seen on your minimap. The goal here is to cover each corner of A main's entry point. Once you pull this wall up, you can use it to make sneaky plays with your team due to the coverage it gives. It's going to work well with run and gun weapons as well as shotguns on an eco round. You can also see how much value it gives due to the space that's being denied from the enemy team. It can easily bait out a bunch of utilities early on before they can comfortably peek an angle. Now, as for the enemy's perspective, they're going to have to go through the toxic screen multiple times to get into sight. This gives your team multiple instances of decay, allowing for easy spams and easy frags. Our second defensive setup on A only requires using Viper's Smoke Orb, allowing you to plan a retake wall later in the round if needed. This orb lineup must be paired with an active hold on A main that can either be done by you or a teammate. However, I do recommend having a duelist hold it for you or an agent with easy escape utilities since you'd want to live longer in the round. So to do this lineup, stand on this corner before the barrier drops. Look towards the two parallel lines right here and aim in the middle of them. Pull out your smoke orb and do a normal throw. You'll see the poison orb land on top of this tall box on A main, giving you and your team a nice one-way smoke to work with. Now, Abyss is just one of the many maps that Viper is incredibly dominant on. If you're looking to master Viper setups for all maps, we highly recommend you check out our Viper Master in Minutes course over at SkillCapped. There we've included dozens of tips Viper one-tricks use every day in their matchups, as well as never-before-seen setups for all the other maps you're going to play Viper on. You'll learn everything there is to know about carrying matches on Viper, and we're so confident in that fact that we offer a rank improvement guarantee, meaning that if you don't climb while you're using our service, you don't pay. So, if you're tired of playing the game on hard mode and actually looking to rank up this act, be sure to check out SkillCapped. More on that at the end of the video, though. Attacking B site is a bit more complex due to the corners and the layers of the site. This is the exact reason why controllers such as Brimstone, Omen, and Clove really aren't as efficient in this map, especially when they're solo controllers. Luckily, as Viper, you're going to have more room to cut off the site to your team's liking and your team's preference. For the first setup, align yourself towards this ridge on the wall. Now use your minimap as a guide to align your wall just enough to cover B link and the entry point of B tower. For our orb lineup, head to the corner of this box, but make sure to clear angles first or have a teammate cover you while you're doing it. Aim your crosshair towards the leftmost tip of this line and do a jumping throw. This setup gives your team a lot of coverage and space to work on site, opening up many opportunities for post-plant plays. Just do be wary of how fast your fuel gauge can drain, especially if you have both your poison orb and toxic screen activated. Our second attacking setup on B incorporates a one-way post-plant hold for diffusers. Make your way towards the entrance of stairs and head to this corner here. Now pull out your wall and align it towards the leftmost part of B tower. For the one-way orb lineup, head to this corner and aim your crosshair right in the middle of these two corners here. Do a normal throw, and your setup should look like this once you push onto the site. Now plant the spike towards back site and make sure it's covered by your one-way smoke orb from rafters. Now you can hold this angle from B main, peeking through danger for an absolutely unstoppable post plant. So similar to attacking, defending B site is also a bit more tricky due to the multiple angles the attacker can come from. Nevertheless, Viper has more than enough in her kit to slow the enemies down in their tracks. For our first setup, align yourself towards this ledge and aim your toxic screen all the way up to the entry point of mid catwalk. This allows you to gain coverage from B main up to mid library and catwalk. Now, as for your smoke orb, simply throw it towards this part of danger. This should be enough to prevent enemies from pushing towards the narrow passage. Now, if they're brave enough to go through danger, you'll also be able to easily spam them for easy picks. Now, from the enemy's perspective, you can see that there are barely any angles to take for an early B main engagement. Now, as for mid holders, there's enough coverage to control both mid library and catwalk. Now, the second setup is a bit more focused on holding B site. First off, Viper's wall goes right here in this corner. Then make sure it's aligned towards the entry points as seen on your minimap. For the orb lineup, head to this corner on the box and aim your crosshair towards this corner and do a normal throw. As you can see, this setup covers your B nest, allowing you to isolate peekers from B main. Now on top of that, anyone daring enough to peek is going to be easy targets due to the decay effect from toxic screen. Now what's great about this setup here is that you can also use it to sneak around danger. While you and your team creates a diversion, one of you can take an unsuspected angle from here, which is going to surely catch the enemies off guard. So if you're looking for a default setup or mid push, Viper's kit can absolutely give you that aid, whether it's a lurk or a full push. Now, while these setups do work best with a second controller, it can still work as long as you get to control the space you take on A or B from mid. Our first setup starts off by aligning yourself with this wall and making sure your toxic screen is at the left tip of Catwalk. For the orb lineup, head to this corner and use the tip of this line as a reference point. Now aim the middle part of the left-click HUD on your poison orb towards the reference point. Do a jumping throw, and the orb should land right over this area here, providing you cover if you decide to push vents. You can also use this setup to sneak your way through a link or spawn. If your team is leaning towards a B hit from mid, here's a setup that's going to allow you to push through mid library. Stand into this corner, and from here, you're going to be doing a variation of our mid catwalk toxic screen. Now aim your wall like this to give cover all the way up to mid top. As you can see, anyone holding from mid top is going to be wary of the decay, lessening the chances of getting peeked from this angle. If they do decide to peek, you and your team can get the best of them due to their decayed state. The fight will also be isolated since the majority of Catwalk is covered by the wall. This allows you and your team to take space on B-Link, plus you still have a smoke orb to your disposal whether on site or elsewhere. If you need an all-around defensive setup that works for both A and B, I've got you covered here too. Now, while this is an easy and straightforward setup, the key is to be proactive in order to get set up before the barrier drops. Make sure to get in position as soon as the round starts so that you can prepare to hold a site. First off, you're going to want to head to this corner on mid library to set your wall for B. Next, head to A tower and align yourself towards the left side of this window here. Aim your crosshair towards the middle of these lines and do a normal throw for a deep smoke orb in A main. This setup is going to give your team coverage from both sides, giving Viper a global presence. Should you decide to hold from A, the wall that's set up on B is also useful for retakes. Now, as you can see, it covers enough to let you and your team retake some space on site. Now, of course, since we go the extra mile here on SkillCapped, there's absolutely no way we leave a Viper setup guide without showing you a few bonus lineups. These lineups are going to surely come in handy in various situations to keep your enemies literally on their toes. So for our first lineup, stand on this corner here and look towards this symbol. Use this leftmost tip as a reference point and align the third line of your fuel bar on the ping. Once in position, throw your molly, and you can see this lineup covers the entirety of default. The second lineup won't be as much of a hassle since you can stay in the same position. Now, while standing on the same corner as the first lineup, you're still going to be using the symbol as a reference point, but this time, you're going to be using the tip of this line. Now, align the rightmost tip of your fuel bar towards the reference point and do a normal throw. This molly is going to cover a huge part of the left side of B site should your team decide to plant in that area. Okay, so last but definitely not the least, we have a nasty Viper's Pit lineup you can use to absolutely dominate the A site. So to get started, head to A site and plant the spike on A bridge. Then make your way towards the top of this generator and pull out your ult. Make sure you're aiming your ult towards bridge before casting. Now, as you can see from the mini-map, this creates a semicircle around a bridge, leaving the plant spot open. This ult allows you to see enemies coming from backside, as well as those trying to get up to generator. Since it's an open plant, you can freely spam the spike from multiple angles whenever you hear the enemy trying to defuse. You can also drop down to backside for some repositioning or just spam from the front. Now, with this ult setup, you can use your smoke orb on the spike for added decay and easier spam. Now, while this ult can absolutely be useful in Viper clutch situations, it also works great if you have some teammates holding the different angles for you too. All right, though, guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little bit more about SkillCapped. So we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and we think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's kind of like a gym membership guaranteeing you that you're gonna get ripped. Your local gym would probably go bust if they offered you that. But not us, because we've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium Valorant guides on the internet. We add new courses every month with over 1,000 guides curated into over 50 courses. No one can compare. We also have a direct line of communication with subscribers in our Discord so that you can get connected immediately to some of the best players in the game who will respond to every question you ask. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you're serious about improving your game. So that's going to be all for this one today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.